Unmute things. Hello.
Right there.
Hey.
There we go. Right there.
There we go.
Hey.
How's it going?
All right. Happy New Year, man. New decade.
Yeah. 2020.
2020.
We're in the
Yeah, that
future.
duality. It's the only duality we get for 10 years. It's going to be chaos. Yeah. What time is it where you are? Is it quite late?
It's 12:30 in the afternoon.
All right. I thought it was like midnight.
No, no.
No. What was it like for you? Did you do anything? You have a good Christmas and all that.
Yeah, Christmas was good. I actually I worked both last night and Christmas Eve, so get holiday pay when I get paid next week. So, that's good.
Nice.
Um Other than that, I don't know. It's been everything's been fairly good.
Everything's been.
So we probably got what, one viewer?
Working a lot.
Yay! We're
I
freaking crushing
I I,
it.
I don't know. It's well, that's part of why I set the thing and try to, give everyone some time and stuff. But I do want to start doing it regularly since I am free on Sundays, and I've been getting things set so that again, I can have graphics for thumbnails. And I honestly, at this point, it's obnoxious. I hate how on YouTube, like, all the channels that do well, the stupid little things like thumbnail art and stuff like that matters. But I have noticed that, like, I feel like back in the day, people like Sargon of Akkad and Tim Pool used to put more effort into their videos and stuff like that, and now they just do them how I do them, with the little webcam box and then just their browser in the thing. Like, everyone has switched to the simple style that I started with, from going from more complicated to that. But it's whatever. I mean, I have some other video ideas I want to cover. In fact, the one I think you and me could get into, because I think it would be a good debate between us. So, do we want to start with that, or anything you want to kick off with?
I just
Or
want to know what you did over New Year's, man. Did you like go out or anything, or
no, I
what was
didn't.
going on, man? What was...
I don't know.
You didn't?
I honestly, I've had enough New Years where friends of mine have tried
Jamie
to get.
doesn't know what you did on New Year's.
No, I didn't do anything. I did a lot
Sounds
of
like a great...
did a
I
lot
don't
of
even know what you
a
did.
lot of cooking around the house and stuff like that. But I mean, it was like any other night. I didn't do
Yeah, mine
anything.
was pretty sad as well.
I mean, well, here's the thing though: is I've had enough New Year's where people get too wasted, and then you have to fight with them to stop them from driving, and it's I just don't want to entertain drama anymore. So I just
Well, I tried to have a good time, like, 'cause I'm in the city, so I got hold of my mate to pick up some weed, which is a nightmare with this guy because he's a sweetheart and everything, but he's so busy. When he says like he'll be there soon, you could be looking at like fucking 10 days
yeah.
basically. So and I'm not like 10, so, but yeah, then I strolled into town, and it's a bit like a ghost town really. And I wasn't really going to do like this pay to get in nonsense. I went for a walk. I can't handle my drink. It was a little bit young. Like everyone, I seemed like a completely different generation to everyone there. And then the highlight was just talking to a homeless guy. That was it. And then I'm a bit of a happy drunk, so I ended up giving him like 20 quid or something.
I'll tell you, there are
Yeah.
some homeless people that have some of the best conversations and
He
interactions
was a great
you could
guy.
have.
I was loving him. Yeah, and he was like really appreciative because I'm a bit of a weed smoker, so I had like all the best strains of the year with me, just in my pocket, and I was just like getting them fucked up. And yeah, I kind of felt bad for the guy. That was it. I mean, it's a bit of a sad way to see the decade, really, isn't it? I mean, it should be like, I don't know,
I don't know,
living up a bit more. We just
but
got out of the house, but it wasn't like a big thing in town, really. It's kind of like,
yeah,
it's kind of very weird. Like New Year's, very weird, isn't it?
yeah. Um, so I let's get into my debate topic, and we can see
Debate.
see what you think.
Right.
Did you catch the debate? Hold on, because I'm gonna cut this up into clips, so I'm writing down timestamps for myself. Um, Did you watch the debate between Styx Hexenhammer and E. Michael Jones?
I tried to.
Right? Yeah, tried to. I mean, the most aggravating thing I could ever. You're not answering my question. Well, your question doesn't. You're not answering my question. But your question doesn't. You're not my question. I mean, I was ready to gouge my eyes out because all I'm thinking is I'm like, these two are supposed to be intellectuals, and
I thought, yeah, sorry.
it was just
I'm
like,
doing it already.
I mean, the fact that Styx couldn't just be like, well, yeah, for the sake of, let's just say it is addictive for some people, or the fact that E. Michael Jones couldn't just be like, all right, well, whether or not you think it is, and care. I mean, the fact that they were on that for 10 minutes of just being like, is it addictive or not? And it's like, that's not even like, that shouldn't be the crux of the argument, but it brought me to think of something concerning this whole argument and libertarians and everything like that. Now, the interesting thing is whenever people are discussing banning things. Now, for anyone who watches this who didn't see it, they're talking about the porn ban, the idea of banning porn. Eventually, they get to a resolution where E. Michael Jones, says he'd prefer some non-governmental Catholic organization overseeing Hollywood or something like the way it used to be. But the thing of it is I started thinking libertarians, whenever they're saying banning doesn't work, they always bring up one example: drugs. And that is such a faulty thing to go to, because the reality of that situation is anytime the government has banned drugs, they've gone into the business of bringing in, supplying, whether it be Afghanistan or South America with the whole what's the guy, Jeremy Webb, right? With the Nicaraguans, the Bushes, Arkansas with Clinton, they're flying in cocaine, they're flying in heroin, like. So okay, let's throw the banning drugs thing out the window, because they never banned it. They just monopolized it. That's all. That's the reality of that situation. But in other situations, like let's say this, for example, in the UK where you are, most of the countries over there ban GMOs, genetically modified foods. Is there a black market for genetically modified foods over there that I'm unaware of, Paul?
There is, yeah.
Is
I
there?
mean, I'm always trying to get out my tomatoes. Oh, yeah. No, of course there isn't. No, there isn't.
Yeah. Okay, now here's another example. When I was in high school, illegal downloading started. Napster, that was middle school, but by high school we had moved on to BitTorrents, and everyone was getting everything for free: BitTorrent movies, BitTorrent albums, BitTorrent programs, so on and so forth. Well, eventually the entertainment industry spoke out, Metallica and all, everything like that. The ISPs got involved. And now my problem with this is you essentially have the internet service providers acting on the behest of the entertainment industry. But what you would slowly start to happen is people would get notices from their internet service providers saying, hey, we caught you downloading the new Denzel Washington movie. You have 3 strikes. If you do it again, we're cutting you off. I kept doing it, and eventually they started throttling my internet speed. And when my mother or sister would call them up and say, why is our internet so slow? They would say, it's because you've been illegally downloading.
Denzel Washington.
Yeah, basically. So now there are ways around it. You can use a VPN and stuff like that. But I will tell you, out of all of my friends that were illegally downloading years ago, the fact that you now have to get a VPN, it's not hard, but the fact that there's extra steps to require because of the illegality, the amount of people doing it is probably dropped by like 90%. Like, a lot of my friends just figure it's not worth it. They'll just get a streaming service for the $10 a month or settle with what's on Netflix and wait till the movie they want to see comes to it. I mean, the people doing it has significantly decreased. It still happens, yes, but significantly decreased. So, I mean, as much as I kind of feel like I have these libertarian leanings, I'm really leaning heavier into the idea that banning things does work to some extent. And I really can't, like, besides, once you remove the whole drugs thing, it really starts to look like there are ways that they could step in and at least limit the amount of porn. Easily. Whether inside the government or out.
It's on the cards in the UK anyway. They've tried it, haven't they? With you'd have to get like an internet ID to view porn.
Yeah.
So that is a thing here in the UK. They tried that. But yeah, I mean, I just thought that. I mean, I'm not a fan of Styx Hammer. I don't really like people. I don't like his dress sense.
I don't like
Um,
anything about him. I don't like his
but the thing
mannerisms.
is, I
I
think
don't like. Yeah.
don't quite know. I mean, I didn't really pay attention. Like it's pretty unwatchable. But I don't think I don't. I'm not even sure if Michael E. Jones opened with the kind of like ban it thing. I thought his premises was it was addictive. It was weaponized. And if something's weaponized and it's bad for you, why would a country allow it?
Yeah.
And that seems to be, I don't know how you could argue with that.
Yeah.
And then Stixhammer's going on a completely different tangent of talking about prohibition in general. But Michael E. Jones isn't a what's the word like a specialist. He's not like a Congress specialist. He's not a lawmaker.
Yeah.
He's just saying that why would you introduce to a society something that's proven to be a war weapon to demoralize all your citizens, break up the family? I mean, we all know
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
weaponization. So if you know that's it and it comes from Israel, why would you allow that in? Surely you would try and stop it. And Stixhammer's go, well, how are you going to stop it? Like he's not listening to the argument
Yeah.
whatsoever. He's talking about a
Well, that
completely different thing.
and that was the thing, is it really seemed like they would
And
they
that's not what Michael E. Jones is coming in with. And I think Michael E. Jones just gave up with them because it was obvious Stixhammer wasn't going to listen to a word. Oh, Stixhammer's going to go, so Christians think
I
you can
know.
ban cannabis? So you being a Christian who think you can ban ideas? It's like
Yeah.
Michael Jones, like, I'm
Well,
just telling you it's addictive and weaponized. You can prove it's addictive. It's like, yeah, it's pretty easy to do. Oh, well, I've not seen a study on it.
well, I know,
Christians
and
hate porn.
and the thing is it's like it sort of seemed like they were talking past each other, because you're right, they both were coming at it from
I
these
think Michael E.
completely
Jones
different
is lost
angles.
and he just gave up with a moron.
Yeah, because see, and here's the
And
thing is,
it's just a little bit too polite.
and I don't know if I think well, I'll tell you what I think. E. Michael Jones was
And
not.
I think Michael E. Jones explained that to him over and over and over, and it's just
Yeah,
wasn't going to
but
stick
I
with him.
think he was naive in not knowing who he had the debate was having it with, because he came into the debate as if he was talking to an intelligent, reasonable person. And the whole thing is if you know Styx and you know his shtick, like, then you know any sort of religious reference, he's going to go to like his talking points basically. And Michael E. Jones in the very beginning laid out a case where like, did he cite Saint Augustine? Yes, but he wasn't citing it in a religious context. He was citing it in a historical context. That like this has been a problem through the centuries, and it's always been known that it has this destructive element, and that it's like as soon as it's introduced to a society, everything starts going to shit. Like, but okay, you cite ancient Rome. Well, ancient Rome happened to be a historically Christian society as America started. Like, again, you can reference it without it being a religious argument, it's a historical argument. It just happens to be that societies are historically religious, and then when they fall away from that, or the ideas of different religions, or religion in this sense is just another word for culture, So I mean, and that's the thing is like Styx. I'll tell you, it really shows how little intelligence he has, that he can't, like fundamentally adjust ideas. Like when there was that whole thing where like he's asked, Michael Jones is asking, is it addictive? Like rhetorically, anyone should just say yes. That's like saying, is drinking addictive? Yes, you. And
Or at least it
as
can be. Yeah, at
as
least say
as E.
that.
Michael Jones said, he's like, I don't need a study to prove this. Like anything can be addictive to anyone. That is just, I mean, it's such a basic fundamental fact. But
Well, and yes, you go by the medical term of addiction, which is it releases dopamine,
yeah,
which I'm sure it probably does.
yeah. I mean, trust me, I work in mental health. I have a big issue with the idea of like drug abuse
Well,
and all
porn
that.
affects
Like,
mental health. It affects sexual health too. Like you get erectional dysfunction and stuff
yeah,
like that. You can't. So it's not really out the realms of possibility. And if it does that, why would it not be
yeah.
addictive? Because if it's self-sabotaging you and you're continuing to do it,
Well,
chances are
here's
you've
the
got a health
thing.
addiction.
Anything, we're the ones putting good and bad context on things based on how things pan out. That's the scientific, aspect of all this. But the brain, because again, I had a big issue with the idea that drug abuse is a mental illness, and the whole idea of like the 12 steps program. It's this incurable thing because of changes in your brain. Changes in the brain. The whole reason they did this was government wasn't funding behavioral stuff, but there was lots of money going into mental illness and disease and all that stuff. So they had addiction classified as that, so that they could get funding. But it's their whole rationalization is the dopamine, explosion and changes, things in the brain. Well, anything positive does that, whether it's getting a paycheck, that causes the same reward thing as taking a hit of crack. Now, maybe it's not as intense and things like that. And because the intensity with drugs, or in this case, porn, it gets classified as a mental illness. I think it's more of a behavioral problem. The behavior is
I
linked
think
to
if
the
you
mental
asked anyone
aspect,
that was
but
addicted to something proper like heroin or crack cocaine, they would tell you and this isn't true, it's not medical, but the addiction comes in when the idea of taking heroin or cocaine outweighs your lifestyle,
yeah,
your
yeah,
everyday life,
exactly.
or that the cost of the drug outweighs any
That's how
anything.
I
It,
look
it
at it.
outweighs personal preservation, it outweighs your hygiene, it outweighs everything.
And you know what the thing is, and because I view it like that, I have a lot of friends that scoff at the idea of, and even people I encounter just daily, people scoff at the idea of people being addicted to marijuana. But it's like, I look at it exactly like that. It's like, where's this in your priorities? And if it's so prioritized that everything else
Well,
will
you can
fall
say
to
that
shit
about
over it.
me. I mean, the story I just told you, I sent my friend literally 30 messages asking him where he was yesterday, and I've got weed. I've got weed. It's not like I've run out yet.
Yeah,
So, I mean, you're talking to someone that's where I'm going through that thing. I know exactly where my addiction lies, and it's lucky that it's marijuana for me. It's just because I'm alone. It's loneliness. It's replacing something that's missing from your life. As
yeah.
soon as the thing that's missing's there, I think the drug will probably go away. So the drug is always some kind of replacement for something.
And what's interesting is I actually, even in high school, I would go on these like 5 day field trips with this girlfriend of mine who didn't know I was smoking cigarettes, and I could get away with it when I was at home, but when I was on a 5 day, trip in a hotel room next to hers, I was like, all right, well, I don't want to get caught and get the grief and all this other nonsense. I just didn't smoke, but it wasn't an issue because when I was with her, I obviously didn't smoke
Exactly.
cigarettes. So the fact that I was with
Your
her the
mind's
whole
on it.
time,
Yeah.
it just never, there was never a craving. I was never grouchy or anything like that. It was just one of those things. I mean,
That's the thing. Like I like. Thank God no one listens to this that I work with, but I like going to work because I can't smoke weed. I kind of like
yeah,
sobering up. I kind of like
yeah, no,
not
I'm the
not
same way.
having it around me.
I'm the
Because
same
if I'm
way.
just at home, that's going to be my whole thing,
Yeah,
and that can go on for years.
me and
Not
Brett
days,
are
but like
both like that.
years.
Where it's like we like to be working all the time because we look at it as just that whole like idle time is the devil's playground. I mean, that's honestly why I tried to do podcasting or music and stuff like that
If
because
I
if I'm
look
sitting
back to my
around bored,
childhood, if I look back to my childhood, it's exactly the same thing. Like I always had to be out the house. Like I didn't really get much attention from any of my parents or my siblings, like at all. So you're always out the house,
yeah.
trying to find attention or something. It's probably a personality flaw I still have. And that's probably why I'm not getting social, like I'm socially retarded in many ways.
Well, and I can say even with
And
myself,
then the weed becomes like a replacement for the not having socialness.
yeah. I can say even with myself too when I had a opioid problem, you
Weed
know,
is company, anyways.
yeah, yeah, me and Brett used the phrase chemical company. I mean, we used it for opiates, but we would say that term all the time. It's chemical company. It is. It you know, it helps with like the boredom and loneliness of
Yeah, things are more interesting when you're stoned. Like films become more interesting,
yeah.
music becomes. My music suffers through weed big time. Like it's obvious when I try and record demos that I should probably try recording sober because you can hear that I'm stoned, and it's not great for
You know,
me.
I
It's
went
not always great. It can be for certain songs, but ideally, yeah, I think you want to be straight when you're recording.
yeah, there was a time when I was in a band and I stopped
Or
smoking
at
for a
least
while
have
that I
someone else
realized
behind the
that
desk. Because, like, obviously, me and Jane, like, we're not in a studio. Like, I'm a guitarist, but I'm my own producer. I'm my own, like, I don't have someone there. And because I just want to play, the producing takes such a back foot that the film just doesn't become listenable anymore. I just
yeah.
want to get the tracks out, To me, it's just a cool riff. The music production thing doesn't excite me as much as just having the guitar part down. Like,
Yeah.
okay, it's done. Move on.
But yeah, I can say even with opiates, you know, it's like see I started taking them when I was in high school because was always achy and stuff from the Lyme disease. Now, Lyme disease doesn't have a behavioral aspect. That's the big part of my issue of addiction being viewed as a disease is it's like you can't just catch it and you can't like there isn't a cure. It's not like one of these where you wake up every day with it. Like there's a choice factor involved in this one. But I was doing it to sort of self medicate for aches and pains and stuff like that. And I mean, I could control it then, but then I had that same girlfriend I was referencing with the smoking. She left for college and then we broke up. And a year before that, my grandmother, who was my second parent, passed away. And so it immediately sort of filled that emotional void where those two losses just became replaced with, you know, Oxycontin and shit like that. But
Yeah, I mean, it's quite sad for me. I mean, that was one of the driving factors for me being so obsessed with Eastern Europe and going there, is because weed just isn't a thing there. It's
yeah,
just not. Like, the weed's going to be so shit out there, it's just not even going to be worth my time even entertaining. Because it's just not going to do anything. It's going to be all that hassle getting it. And that's the thing, like, weed's such a huge part of my life. Like, if you looked at my budget, a giant proportion of it is just smoking up.
yeah,
And I think I would like it where I'm just occupied enough during the day that I could just have one in the evening. That would be like the ideal situation. Just one to land the plane, as I would say.
yeah,
But I know I'm not like that. Like I'm gonna just like literally as soon as I wake up, I've got a joint in my mouth whilst I'm cooking breakfast, and I've got to go to work. Like just to go to work, I'll have three just to balance out, and then it wears off by like half 10, 11, and I'm good for like the rest of the day.
yeah.
But like, yeah, because I'm not very social. I like going and work stoned, and it's good for my colleagues because I'm annoying. I'm a bit of a dick. So if I'm completely stoned out in the morning, at least everyone has 3 hours, just peace and quiet. Because I'm
Well,
just like, I just put my headphones on, get my head down, and just like do some work.
see, and I think you just sort
I've
of
had a good start to the morning. I've had a great start to the morning.
I
And
think
I
you
feel grateful, like on the way to work. It's like, yeah, I'm blazing up some like strawberry shortcake kush, bro. Like I'm loving it. I'm like, I've got this. Like I'm really grateful. I've got the drug. Like whenever I've got it. So
but I think you casually back to my point where it's like, I think of it right now. If I wanted to go out and do heroin, I wouldn't even know who to call or where to start to try to find it. So it makes it really easy
You
if I
probably
if
got a taste for it where you want good quality too. Like the bad
yeah,
stuff's
yeah,
just not
that's
really good.
that's true. Yeah, I wouldn't want to just buy it from anywhere and get ripped off and stuff like that. But it's like that's the thing where it's like it's because of that. Where would I even start? The
Well,
the urge is very quickly diminished because it's like, that'd feel nice, yeah, but it take all day to try to get, and it probably
I
won't
mean,
work out. So
I've
why
been really
bother?
lucky that this kickboxing guy I hang around with, he does take a lot of my shit. But he's a really great guy. Like the prices he does to me are pretty insane. So if it wasn't for that guy and I was just left to my own devices, I'd I could be paying nearly double. So like that's how good of a situation I've been in for like a year and a half. Like it's pretty much trade price.
Yeah.
And it's
Um.
not just trade price, it's like he has really good quality control in it too. And then being in the clubs, which isn't a thing anymore, unfortunately. So like 2019, like personally, it's definitely been my cannabis year, and I've already been a pretty big. But imagine if I didn't have that contact, the money I'd be spending would just be like ungodly.
Yeah. Um. But to tie it all back to the original debate thing, like I don't see how the same can't apply to porn. If there
Well,
was
I
a
apply it to drugs, and he says he doesn't. People are always like, "Oh, well, Paul, surely you want cannabis legalized?" And I'm like, "I'm not sure that's a great idea
yeah, I'm the same
because
way.
I wouldn't promote it. I wouldn't recommend it. So legalizing it kind of puts a badge on it that it's okay to do, and it's not. And it's like, well, alcohol's legal, Paul. It's like, yeah, I'm aware of that. I don't think alcohol's like a good thing either.
Yeah, well, and
You
that's
know,
that's exactly the thing where it's like, yeah, and how many problems do people have related to this? Whether it be
yeah.
just
But in the same
alcoholism,
time, I don't
liver
think you should be
problems,
legally
car
criminalized
crashes,
for
like
cannabis. But like banning it doesn't mean it has to be like a legal consequence.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, and
It's
that's
like last night, like the cops we got in the UK now, the ones that are out last night, all look like hipsters, man. So I didn't give a fuck about, like, I was blazing in front of five cops. And in the UK, you'd normally just be arrested for that. But because I was like lightly drunk, just having fun, giving the homeless some money, they just like let it be, man. It's like, okay, he's just sat there having a good time, just smoking a couple of joints.
yeah. Yeah,
So that like
cops
even
around
though it's
here really
legal,
don't
it's
care
banned.
either.
It just depends how you do it in front of the authorities. Like if you've got an attitude about it, like they're definitely gonna have to do something about it. So I don't know. I'm not a fan of Stixham. I like Michael E. Jones quite a lot. I think he's an absolute legend.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing is and I think that's part of why Sticks had to. I mean, I think he was going to do it either way, but I think that's why he had to go the route he went.
Stixham
Where,
just wanted it on his like wiki page that the Satanists took on the Catholic guy.
yeah. Well, and his whole
It
thing
wouldn't
was
matter
just
what the subject was. Yeah.
implementation, and you know, E. Michael Jones is just like, I can give you a million reasons
I
why we
wasn't
need to
convinced
get
that
rid of
Stixham
it.
was convinced by his own complaint. I think he was just saying it just for the sake of. I don't think he actually had any like passion in what, any belief in what he was saying.
Yeah.
That's just what I just think he was just doing it
Well, yeah, and that's
to make
why
his channel.
I agree with I see your point with that, where it's like these sort of smugness and almost like he was like disengaged with the whole thing, like very blasé about it, where it's like like you
And I
said
also
the
think it's like I don't think he is popular with the women, but he really wants to be. And like his idea in his head, like if his that his like super sexual freedom, he's got like all these one night stands, and that's why I like porn because I've got such a sexual appetite, and that's why I don't wear a shirt and just wear a jacket. And it's
well,
just
and
like
which I'm
you're just a fucking retard.
well, yeah, well, I mean, he's a
Like no
Satanist,
woman,
so
like
there's
I'm
obviously
not
sex
straight with
magic, and Satanism and monogamy don't exactly go hand in hand, so
I haven't had that many women's, but the ones I've had have been like way out my league, and I don't think they would go for a guy like that. Like I would score
no.
higher. He probably pick up dregs way better than I can, but you'll be surprised what 10 out of 10 women go for. I
Yeah,
think you'll be surprised.
yeah. Well,
Because they get chatted up like 100 times a day, man.
it's interesting. Last night I was listening to Gavin McGinnis's podcast, and he makes that exact point where he says that guys almost like to have to pay their dues, and it's like if you date like a really smart but ugly girl, well then all the hot girls will want you because they'll think higher of you personally. If it's almost like scoring brownie points. Like he was saying that about the guy from the band Bleachers who dated Lena Dunham. He was like, since they broke up, he can just bang supermodel after supermodel because they're like, oh, you were with Lena Dunham, you must really like girls for who they are. Like, and then just it's like how
I
you
had
pay
a
the
Kim
dues.
Basinger look-alike on the go, and she had tons of millionaires chasing her. And the only reason she went for me, because I was the only guy who wasn't trying to sell himself with lies. Like I was just being brutally honest about
Yeah,
how shit partner I would be. It's like I don't have a job. I don't really want a job. And she was like, "How come you're not selling me bullshit?" It's like I'm just not used to this.
yeah,
They're always trying to go, I've got this business, it's going to do just always it's kind of they kind of find it patronizing from the guy when they do that.
yeah. I can see that.
I don't know.
But yeah, so
Like at least if you're honest and the news isn't good, at least they know exactly where they stand with it. But with the other guys, they don't know what's real and what's not real, and then it's just a mess. And yeah, and the thing that you should be like impressed by objects and stuff. You know, I'm getting this, and I need to buy this, and now I need to buy this, and I need a new mic. Man, you know.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. To Levy, I brought in like fucking 80. I think Styx Hammer's just trying to show what a sexual stallion he is by showing how liberated he has been with porn.
yeah.
But if anything, you probably got a porn. I hate to go down this road. Just shows why I'm a social retard. Is with the rise of the dark web, paedophilia is massive on that, and it's not just paedophilia. It's stuff like snuff is a giant thing on that, and then snuff mixed with kind of sexual torture and hurt rooms and all this kind of stuff. It's like where do you draw the line to where something's legal? How can you prove to women's rights, especially with BDSM? Like I don't watch any porn, so I don't know how deep it goes. But I imagine the rabbit hole of porn goes pretty hard, and it's like when does it become legal and illegal? As in the point, like how do
Well,
you know the woman's like even agreeing to this? Especially when it's like, look at this, it's meant to be brutal and it's acting brutal. It's like, well, how do you know it's not just genuinely brutal?
yeah. Well, and part of the
Especially
thing.
when you get into suffocation and I don't know what
Part,
kind of crazy shit they're doing now.
part of the thing too is well, and see, and here that's where the addictive thing factors in. Is like I can tell you, any porn site you go to now, the whole front page is just covered with incest, this stepmom, that, cousins, brothers, sister, like, and it's a thing where it's like people, it's the idea of always trying to chase that first high where it's like the first time you try a drug,
Yeah.
it's out of this world, and then every other time pales in comparison. So it's like there is that aspect to porn where people will just search for more and more and different, whether it be first you just start with like a couple one-on-one, and then it's to threesomes and orgies and anal and incest and tie them up and beat them and choke them, and I mean, and then like you said, it ends up on the dark web with pedophilia and snuff films. And honestly, like in terms of like, is there a, like, how far off is from what's on the front page of these sites anyone can get to that stuff? Not that far sometimes.
Well, when I was out yesterday, like I kind of felt sorry for the women because, like, I don't know how it happened, but I just sat by myself, looking like a complete knob end, and a few chicks just sat down and joined me, and like all the guys were like looking, going like, how is this even fucking possible? And it's like, it's because I think porn's cucked you in many ways. Like a lot of the men, they don't dress in any way. Like Like even I can't dress the way I want to dress because it'd be too over the top. But even just put on a nice pair of jeans that don't look ridiculous and a nice jumper, like just look like you're a member of the public. Like they look so cut, feminized. They wear very weird, bizarro kind of clothes. They don't really fit properly. They look kind of nothing goes together.
Yeah.
They have really shitty gay haircuts, and I just don't fucking get it. Like I can't imagine if you've got a group of 10 guys, how any of those 10 would be remotely that attractive to a female. Like I feel kind of bad for the women. There wasn't much about.
Well, and the other thing too.
Like just going to work, like I just wear like a nice suit. Like no one does it at work now. We'll get on to that because I want to do a bit about my work. We might save that, but we'll open with that. With no, everything has to be casual at work. Like everyone wears casual clothes, always dressed down day, to the point where the women are wearing like hoodies with their rugby team. It's like, why are women playing rugby anyway? That's insane. They're
Yeah.
wearing like onesies. The guys, it's like, I can't believe my boss. I can't believe his wife lets him go out dressed like that. I can't fucking believe it. And me and Chris, because Chris is an old guy, he's like in his 50s, 60s. We don't go full blown suit, but we go at least business casual. And
Yeah.
should I go into work? What's going on at work? 'Cause I think you'll like this.
Yeah, sure.
I've been saying this. Okay, so I work for one of the biggest brand banking. So where this is going is going to be across the board. I see it with all big brands. So when you go on the web page, their intranet site is full of articles, and this is the leading brand. It's like a worldwide global brand. The first article was 5 women leading the way in management. It's got interviews with 5 women about how they're leading the way of management. So it's like I can't really like how I feel reading that. It's like I can't really relate to that. Personally, I've not had good work experiences as a whole with women. I had one great female boss who was one of the best, but other than that, it's been a complete disaster zone. So, and it's not just because women are bad towards me. I don't work well with women, I don't think as well. So it's not. It's a two-way thing. So I couldn't relate to that article. The very next article was about the 5 leading LBGTQ members in management, about how they like to stick their dick where the poo poo comes out and how that helps them in management. So that was insane. Like reading that, the thing we had this whole article pushing gay people for managers. Then it had the top 5 ethnic managers. And then the final article had this white dude, and he was going, "I'm a manager. I need to know how to tone down my male toxicity and all this." And I was like, we all know what happened to just promoting the best.
Yeah.
So I've got no chance in this company. The next thing they had was we have to do active shooter drills as well, where we just have to like hide under our desk. That's the drill. So the alarms go off and we all have to hide under our desks. And poor Chris puts his back out. And I'm like, why don't we use a laptop for a bulletproof vest? Why don't we make napalm from hot water and sugar? Why don't we try and do something? ISIS are going to be shitting themselves when they find out we hide under desks.
Yeah, right?
I mean, this is not a good plan. Like, we just go under our desk and die. And like, it's hard to explain, but I'm doing drills where I have to comply to this. And I don't know if it's a drill or not. Do you know what I mean? It could be a drill, like it probably is. But the idea that my life isn't worth anything, it's all mind control. That's the point. The film, the 5 articles with the 5 women in management, 5 LGBTQ. It's just, this isn't about work at all.
Yeah.
This is about thriving in business. This is all mind control. And like no one else, it's like I'm in a Twilight Zone, like they left. It's only me that can see it. And thank God Chris is there next to me because he can see it as well. The other thing is, I'm going to give away my company now, who I work for, but their their slogan at the moment is we don't live on an island. We don't live on an island. And I'm like, and I have to go to these seminars where I've got like a top manager going, at blood, I nearly said the company, at blah 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 blank bank, we believe we do not live on an island. And it's like, you fucking mock me for saying we don't live on a spinning globe, and you're telling me we don't live on an island. What the hell? What
Right?
the hell, boy? It's like, guys, we live on it. Like, how can we, like, who, how did that part, like, this is the biggest global brand in the world.
Yeah. Well,
Think of all the people this had to get signed off by. And everyone's saying it, everybody, oh, we're not an island. And it's like, it's very anti what happened in England with Brexit. You know,
yeah, I was
Brexit
just thinking that.
That's what it is. It's a fucking fuck you to people that voted Brexit. It's political. And again, I nearly said the company I worked for because they are anti-Brexit in the press too. So, what other crazy stuff?
Which
I mean,
I don't know why. Like, I don't know why business would be against it, except maybe just out of laziness. Because it's like, you would think if
it
you're.
is a bank, Jamie. I'm not going to say which one.
But you would, I'm just saying, you would think if you're dealing with other nations and stuff, you'd like to deal with things individually rather than just dealing with the EU. Like, I forget who it was, but Sargon of Akkad did this video of this guy who got elected as an MP or something. He dressed really casual too all the time, and that's why everyone really liked him. And he was a Remain guy, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you know, we need to stay a part of the European Union because the European Union, that's where all the top people are, and they're making the big decisions, and you know, they're the big brains at the EU." So then he gets elected. He goes to Brussels for 2 days to do shit at the EU, and by the end of it, he was like, "This is a fucking train
Get me
wreck.
out of there.
They don't know what's going on. They're so disconnected from everything. Like this, like it was a complete 180
Well,
out of
the
him
other thing
seeing it up close."
before I forget, the other thing we have was Chris is he's an old guy, so he isn't black pilled yet, but or red pilled as it is. But each time you drop him red pills, he's probably one of the only guys I can talk to in that office who's like doesn't think it's ridiculous what I'm saying. So we have these like little giggles in the corner. But we had to go to a seminar about we got emails about unconscious bias training. I was going, Chris, do you know what unconscious bias training is about? Do you know what being unconscious bias means? And he's going, I've got no idea. I've never heard of it. I can't wait to go. I was going, it's obvious, isn't it? If you're white, you're racist, and you're not even aware you're racist. They're
Yeah,
going to tell us how racist we are, and that they haven't got any examples, they don't have any proof, they don't have any evidence. It's all unconscious. You're not even aware you're doing it. And because I'm not aware you're doing it, no one else is aware. But just be aware of what you're not aware. So it's going to make us all super paranoid of each other. I'm not going to go near fucking Mohammed again in the fucking office. It's already tense as it is for that dude. So I'm not going to go near the fucking Pollacks too much. I'm not going to go near the women whatsoever. And it's just going to be like crazy town if you're a white guy. And it's going, and then he just got it straight away. It's like, it is going to be that, isn't it? And it's like, look at what the next sentence is. Unconscious bias training with real life stories. It's like, they're obviously not real life stories, are they? They're just anecdotal nonsense because you've got no evidence, no examples. And you can't write, you're unconsciously racist. Here's our anecdotal made up story thing we came up with. And it's never going to be some black dude being oppressor. Because if there's a
well, yeah,
president,
that's the
what
thing. It never. It's
there
always a
has to
one-way
be an oppressor.
conversation. It's always a one-way conversation where it's like it's never talking about the unconscious bias that a Muslim might have because of being told the Western world is the devil for all of their childhood. It's always aimed at one direction, and it's like, they could even like. Everyone should know we all carry our own cultural biases, period. But like you said, those seminars and stuff, unconscious bias, that's basically mind control as a euphemism. Like, where they're just basically saying, we're going to tell you what you're not thinking and tell you how to
It
change and alter what you're not
seems to
thinking.
be that if you say you're LBGTQ within this place, you automatically pretty much become manager. If you're willing to openly talk to colleagues, be on the internet, put the LBGTQ on your email signature with all that diversity integration, you get promoted. I'm not joking, that's all it takes.
I'm
They
not
promoted
surprised.
my bosses, I've got two, they're doing this. But the thing is they're married, male and female.
That's crazy.
Do you get where I'm going with this already? So I've got a guy lecturing me about how I've got gay rights, how gays shouldn't be scared, and I've got a woman doing it as well above me, and how all white people are racist. They're married, and they're white, male, female. So how can they be a good representation of LGBTQ if they're male and female and married?
Yeah.
How is that a good I don't get it. Is
Well,
that
it's
not? So I don't even agree with LGBTQ, but isn't that just milking something you're not really part of? Or do gay people get married to the opposite sex? I mean, I don't know. I can't keep up with this.
it happened with what is it, Mayor De Blasio or something, where it's like his wife was like a lesbian up until meeting him, and then they got married. I mean, hell, it kind of happened with Hillary Clinton
And
too, I
I
guess.
sit right next to them, so they hear bits. It's like I try and talk like this to Chris. I go, Chris, are they going to tell gay people about how dangerous it is and the dangers that go along with being gay? He'll go, Paul, what do you mean? Because he's a bit offended at first. And I go, wherever poo poo comes out, there's disease. If you stick your dick where the poo poo comes out, you might get AIDS, HIV. I mean, you're going to get riddled with disease. If you lick people's ass, it's not a good idea. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it comes with dangers. Quite a substantial danger. You're putting yourself at massive more risk.
And isn't it interesting though that it's like,
And he goes, yeah, that's a good point. It must be, yeah, you're sticking your dick where that's got to be really risky. I was like, don't you think if we really cared about gay people, we should tell them?
well, yeah, and that's what I was just about to say. Isn't it interesting how like the actual stuff like that does cause risk and danger, like they never want to talk about. They're fine with having everyone exposed to the unspeakable risks and dangers, but then they'll tell you that it's like you're in danger of just standing next to a cis white man, or someone who doesn't want to say your pronoun. Which, speaking of which,
And the last time I say, if I am a gay dude and I'm starting at this new place of work, let's say I am generally homosexual, would I want LGBTQ and all these drag queens being the representation of that? And why
no.
is sex even a thing in the office? I thought we just
That's
had
what
this
I've
like
always
Me
wondered.
Too thing.
That's what I've always wondered about this whole
Surely mixing
LGBTQ
sex
identity
in
thing.
any way it shouldn't be in work
Yeah,
whatsoever.
yeah. Why
And
why
when
are
I talk
people's
about the
sex
kind of porn
lives?
I like, oh, I was banging off to this porn last night. I was banging off, and she was like, if I spoke like that, it'd be
Yeah,
like, oh, I'd be fired.
yeah.
But we're
Because
gonna have
it's
like LGBTQ on my email. Every single email I send, it has to be hammered home. That's what I mean. It's mind control. Why is like every email I get from my two bosses, I'm gonna be hammered with the LGBTQ
well
stuff.
here, and here's the yeah, the thing about it is it's like, it's if you just get rid of this whole idea that it's like a part of a person's identity. And even if it is, let's say it is part of their identity, well, the part of their identity it is the what do you get off to,
Well, no,
like.
because
And
I'll be attacked as well. Because the attack will be, why are you so obsessed with homosexuals, Paul? And it's like, I'm not the one putting it on my fucking.
yeah,
What do you mean obsessed? Like, it becomes I'm the one obsessed with it. I'm the one with the problem with it. It's like I'm saying, don't even bring it up, put it on the table.
yeah, well, yeah, because it's
Because
like,
I'm so unobsessed with it. You're the ones that it's like it's the way it's flipped on you that you're the one obsessed with it. It's
well,
like,
like you said, it's very
no.
it's very much like the idea of talking about what kind of porn you like, because it's what do you get off to. Like, you'd assume if someone's gay, they watch gay porn, right? I mean, that's that's what they get off to. If someone's straight, they probably watch straight porn. It's what they get off to. But why is that anything having to do with the workplace or any of that? Is that's where it is. It becomes mind control.
Yeah, but I've only been there a month. How much mind control is that?
I mean, that's a lot for a month.
But the thing is this where I've become derogatory to my work colleagues? Because everything's the lowest common denominator, nothing's getting done. Like all we've got to do is we've got to send out. We've got massive. There's been a massive banking scam that's going called PPI. Probably heard about payment protection insurance, where it's all got to be paid back for the last 20 years. So we're just sending out letters saying, "Sorry, customer, we're going to be enough for 20 weeks investigating." And this has taken like it's so much work to send out one letter. It takes 10 minutes to send one letter to one customer, and it's the same letter to every single customer. They can't just do them in bulk. You've got to do them one by one, update different systems, this system, that system, get it passed by audit, even though the letter's the same, and then save it on their customer profile. It takes 10 minutes to do it, and you could fuck it up so easily. Instead of just bashing out, you just think this is what happens because the task has to be so simplified to the lowest common denominator. It becomes this massive, to do a very simple task becomes almost like, what do you call it in what you've got in the US, that like that maths teaching you do for kids?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where
A coworker
it's
and
like,
I were talking about that last night. Common Core.
that's in the workplace now because everything's the lowest common. You can't be a winner at work. There can't be someone overperforming. Everything has to be accessible to everybody. Whether you've just arrived in the country, whether you've just retarded, whether you're too obsessed with your dick and your poo poo. It's like, so Chris cannot believe how much money is going in to just, all the task is to tell people, like 40,000 people, that we're going to be enough for 20-week delay in looking at your complaint.
You know what's funny
And
about that?
this job, to get 40,000 letters out, we're probably looking at, that's a year's job. That's all I'm doing, Jamie.
My
That's all
co
I'm doing.
my
Sending
co
a cut and paste letter. It takes me all day.
you know it's
And
it's
I can do, if I push hard, I'm not fucking about, I can do like 50 a day, and I'm like top of my class.
it's so
Most people
interesting
can do like 20,
though that
30,
you bring up
so.
the Common Core reference because my
It is
coworker
common,
last
it's the
night,
lowest common denominator.
yeah, she told me about this video that's going around where it's like a video of a teacher teaching how to do this math problem or this math sheet or something having a lesson to do with math.
Yeah, the
And
most simplest problem becomes like a hour-long
yeah, and the
math.
other side of the screen, it's a guy who just does it the way you
Making
and
it
me
up
were all
fast.
taught to do math. And he does the math assignment, brings the dog for a walk, comes back, makes a cup of coffee, has something to eat, and like starts doing all this other shit during the amount of time it takes her to get through the same problems. And that's so, like, you're right, where the overcomplicating of everything and making it where you have to go through all these necessary steps that are actually unnecessary, all it does is drag people down to the lowest common denominator. It makes it where if you can just do it, you can't just do it because you have to go through the process.
I've had like, but then again, Chris can't even handle it because Chris is gonna. But it's taken him 4 months to learn the stuff. Like it took me. It takes most people 4 weeks to get to grips with this job. Just send one letter. I'm not bullshitting you, Jamie. I saw someone do it once, and I was pretty much good to go. For for the first 3 hours, I had to ask the odd question for the odd weird one, but I was fine after like 20 minutes, pretty much. Everyone else has taken 4 weeks. They've got to learn how to get into the system, remember their password. They can't remember how to cut and paste. They can't remember what programs they need. They can't remember where to save the file. They can't remember how to upload a file. They can't. Do you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
over and over. I had to show this dude like 60 times the same thing, like save the file here. It's like, where do I save the file again? Where do I save the file again? To a point where I had to like shout at him, going, dude, I've literally shown you 60 times. It's the same place. Luckily, it's a good guy, so he can take it when I lose it. He kind of like it is hilarious, but I just yell at him. Go, I've shown you 60 times. It's the same fucking place. And then he'll click on his Internet Explorer and go, "What here?" I'll go, "That is not where you save Word files."
I almost wonder, at the mental health job, they keep switching our time card system, and now it's some new online thing that they're doing the payroll and the time cards through. And we got this email from them when they first implemented it, where the one person said, Sorry we're having issues, getting everything rolling. The new system is more complicated and time consuming than the last one. And I read that just looking at being like, then who the fuck decided to go with this one? Like, who makes the decision to say more time? Like, it's so anti-business,
Yes,
anti-efficient.
I'm
Like,
getting paid global brand money to do this. So I shouldn't complain. But then that makes me very resentful for the jobs I've had in the past. Like, the bigger the brand, the easier the job is, and the higher the pay
yeah,
is. Most
yeah,
people who get the job aren't capable of anything. Like, they're nice people, but they're pretty much useless. And yes, you were to spoon feed them all the way, then they're fine. But you'd have to invest in them. Like it's not being high level IQ. Like I'm not that high. No, Owen Benjamin goes on about. I'm probably 125, 127. It's not bad, but it is like you don't fit in anywhere because I'm not
yeah.
dumb and I'm not smart to go to the next level.
Well,
Like
and
I'm not smart enough to compete with Fox Day and Owen Benjamin or anyone above me, but I'm way too heavyweight for the people in the group.
yeah. Well, and what's interesting about that
And you
is,
come across, oh, Paul knows it all. Paul knows it all. It's like there's nothing to know.
yeah, yeah, where you sort of just play dumb to go along to
I've
get
never
along a
had an
lot of the
easy job,
time.
Jamie. I've never had an easy job. People are like, oh, this is so stressful, so hard. It's like this is the easiest thing I've ever done since I was like stuff my dad made me do when I was 5 as tasks. It's
Yeah.
more complex than that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I would always,
I was 5.
whenever I see people
Game was
online,
5, man.
whenever I would see people online in internet comments talking about
5 might
how
have been
smart they
exceptional, but
are,
5.
you always know people in like message boards and stuff like that talking about how high IQ they are and stuff like that. Like they're full of shit and they're lying because it's like when you are high IQ and stuff, you feel ostracized and like you feel like you're not included in things because you like you said, you're the only person in the office that sees
I've
things
got
for
a
what
double
it is.
whammy though. Because unlike people like Fox or Owen, I struggle with motivation. Like I really struggle. I'm very lazy. But if you actually get, once I'm actually doing something, I tend to excel. It's just getting me, because I'm an all or nothing guy. I'm either just not going to do it or I'm going to do it to best of, like, but really kind of like best I can, I guess.
Yeah.
I also know what I'm good at and what I'd be terrible at, and I just avoid things I know I'm going to be terrible at.
That's something it took me a while to do. Is especially with my music stuff, where it's like I wanted to do everything, and it's like at some point I was like, you know what? It'd be better if I focused at what I really want to make an impact on and delegate stuff like album artwork and Photoshop stuff. I mean, I from the thumbnail and all that, I have gotten around to learning Photoshop, and that's part of why I want to do more with the graphics and thumbnails and all that stuff, is so I can better learn these programs. But it's like you really should do what you're good at, and the other stuff, try to find someone who's good at that, and
I
it's
wouldn't say
better
that
all around then.
if you have to track, music's very different. So I think the misconception of music, and it would definitely hit you, is when you see what other people are doing, you automatically compare yourself. But the people you're comparing yourself to probably do delegate it all out. So I would rather you do it all by yourself. I kind of like that. There is an artistry in that. Doesn't, but then you'll compare your music to other people, and it's like remember you did that all yourself.
Well, that's why.
Like every single drum pattern is like perfect, and like every single riff is perfectly recorded.
But I think that's why I do when I'm doing like an album to say,
I kind of don't like this production music stuff. I kind of like the mistakes in there sometimes.
yeah, but that's why I generally do things in
I like the
groupings where it's like
compromises.
I'll come up with all my chord progressions for maybe 12 songs in one sitting. Then another day I'll do the drum tracks for all of it. I might go back in and tweak a few things here and there, but the bulk of it all gets done in once. Because and then like one day I'll come in and I'll just lay down all the guitar riffs. But it's like I have to be in that mode where it's like today I'm going in as a guitarist or as a bassist or as the engineer to mix and tweak things and master it. Like I don't do one song, do the drums, do the guitar, do the and then mix and master it before everything else. Like I do it kind of in batches where it's like it's easier for me to keep in that mindset. Now sometimes I will just come in and do a song to do a song, but if I'm planning an album, I generally do it all in steps like that where I keep everything up at the same pace together. You know, I don't know, there's just something about my brain that works well in that. I eat the same way. Like that ended up being something pointed out at Christmas where it's like if I have a plate with like 5 different things, I'll eat all of one thing at once and then move on to the next thing, on to the next thing. And like I don't mix the things together. I don't take bites of one thing and then the next thing. I mean, maybe at first to try everything and then I'll go through one by one, but I don't know. It's easier for me to work on music that way, definitely.
I think I should take that approach. My only cop-out excuse at the moment is I really need that, what was that decent drum program called? Superior Drummer. Because I don't need Superior Drummer, I need the MIDI packs from it. Because the ones on Addictive Drums are a bit shit.
I
They're
have
not really useful.
tons of MIDI packs I can get to you.
Yeah, I need rock and metal kind of drums. If you got a Superior Drummer MIDI packs, that'd be
Probably.
so handy.
Probably. I'll put them in
Yeah,
Dropbox or
please hand them to
something.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Superior Drummers, you can't get it on torrent anymore. None of them work.
Hmm.
Or they're a complete nightmare to download. I cannot find it anywhere. They've completely cleaned it up.
Yeah.
But I don't mind using Dick's Drum. It's just their MIDI patches are not really that great.
Yeah. No, there's
Well, they
a lot of
need
better ones you
a
can.
drummer one.
And an addictive drummer, you can set a custom folder, so it'll just load in the drum patterns from elsewhere. But yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
that's what I have. Yeah, I'll upload my folder and get it to you.
Yes, but the Superior, yeah, that's the only one I need. It's just a Superior Drummer because they had amazing rock metal ones, and yeah, and they're well labeled, so you actually know what it is you're dragging in. You got some idea. Like if it digs a drum, you have to like, it's just shit. I don't
Yeah.
want to talk music, but yeah, and that's what I want to do. Just do the drums very quickly. Do my own bass. Just split. Do the bass. Do the guitars and just mix it. And because at the moment, yeah, I just do everything at once. Yes, that's not a bad approach though. Sometimes doing a song garage band style. You
Yeah.
know, where you don't know where the next bar's coming from. You sort of do the drums, and then you do the bass, and you do the guitar, all in like bar sections.
Yeah.
That could be fun. Just
Well,
because you never know how it'll turn out.
well, I think since I did have them on the thumbnail, maybe we should just touch quickly on some of these news stories of the past. You know, I can say we've covered
Yeah.
the clown world thing with your job story, 'cause it is clown world we are living in. But
It's not, it's heavy mind control.
yeah.
I'm sure it's not just like, my mum came up with a good point, just going, they just don't want to be sued. They could just be
Well,
lawyers.
yeah, that's true.
Just defending the company, and that you just get to this like it's not really mind control. It just looks that
And
way.
you know that's a good point because that's why companies do these sexual harassment seminars and stuff like that. It's so they don't get sued, so that they can say they've sat everyone down
You
and
say
told them.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
What measures you have? It's like, but the other thing is now no one can set up business in the UK, guys. This is what it's telling me. Like I'm gonna need so many lawyers just to open my first day. Like I've got to have this protection training.
Yep.
Training for this. Employees need to be aware of this and aware of that, and these people need to feel safe. And I need lawyers. I need HR.
Yeah.
HR is always women,
Yep.
always. So they control completely who gets who. That they're the chopping board basically.
Yeah. And then
Fucking
you
insane.
and then you end up with bad situations where, like, at my one job, we have it where we have a supervisor who, I mean, she just, I honestly, I think there's too much on her plate. But I mean, you would think she has a screw loose, where it's like you would have a conversation with her and then have to have the exact same conversation the next day. And it's like, why aren't you just checking your text messages? We already talked about, you have the answer in your phone. Um, or, make a schedule change, and then 2 weeks later she'll call someone telling them that you wanted to change the schedule, and then they call you and you're like, I already did it 2 weeks ago. What is she talking about? She signed off on it. She wrote a schedule reflecting the changes. What is happening? Like, just these weird Twilight Zone things where you start to think you're going crazy, where it's like you'll take off, you'll have a shift from her approving it, and then she'll call you 2 weeks later. Why weren't you at work? Why'd you take off? And you're like, you approved it. What are you talking? Like, so anyway, we've voiced these complaints to her supervisor, who then sends us these lecturing emails about how she put a lot of time and effort into picking this woman, and it's not her that's the problem, it's us, and all of this other stuff. And it's like, because her pride is tied into being invested into this person. So it's like, basically, like, she's perfect and everyone else is the problem, even though you've been telling us for 2 years we're perfect and she's the only new thing in this equation.
Well, the only saving grace I've got is at least I've made a good friend there. And that's the only reason I've still got a job, is because if they get rid of me, the other guy just wouldn't be. He's not like self-efficient.
Yeah,
So, like, that's the only thing keeping me. But yeah, I don't think it'll last that long, but it'll be fun while it does.
yeah. So onto
Right.
news stories. Jeffrey Epstein. He was a news story from this year. Now,
What's the biggest one?
I heard Steve Pachinik say on Infowars this week that he never even went to jail. And
Yeah,
and I wouldn't be surprised, because I remember actually Jordan Maxwell talking one time, saying how politics and all of this operates like the mafia. Now, he used the examples of, like, Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden, Castro, third world dictators and despots, that when we say we took them out and we killed them and everything like that, we actually give them like a mafia retirement package, where it's like, you're going to go off into the sunset and disappear with your millions and millions and never be heard from again. And in the public eye, we'll say you died. And that's what Pachinik is saying essentially happened with Epstein, is that they went to him and they said, we're shutting shit down. We're going to say
I
you
don't think it's
died.
even that. I think Epstein's just like you have got it, but don't forget, with all these people you mentioned before in comparison, they're all just like cardboard cutout poster boys. They're not really the person doing it. And that's why all these crimes are like women where they're just on that limit of age that you're hearing about. So it's just kind of like, he's just a nonsense guy. He's just a Mossad propaganda piece. I
Yeah.
don't think he's really the kingpin at all. Like that's why no one knows where he got his money from. He has nothing really to offer. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
think he is in it.
Well, yeah, he's a cardboard cutout guy too, in some
Cardboard
regards.
cutout, a cardboard cutout cunt, they used to say.
Yeah. Um.
So yeah, I
So,
think and that yeah, it's just I'm not convinced Epstein. It's just like look over here kind of thing.
and you know what? And this is the interesting thing
And
that
then it's
they.
easy to brush under the carpet, and it's just on a beach in Tel Aviv, just
Yeah.
having a cocktail.
Well, and again, it's interesting how they use these mainstream narratives and stuff, where it's like, it's sort of like the Obama birth certificate thing, where it's like they get you so caught up in the birth certificate, you're not asking the real question, which is, who's his real daddy. With the Epstein thing, they have everyone so caught up on him not hanging himself that, it's like, you're not even looking at, did he even go in that jail cell in the first place? Like, did we ever really get him? So it's like they string you along with the story and then get the question mark somewhere over at the end, where it's like, no, the real, issue is actually in the very beginning of this narrative. Um So, and in a similar twist, we also
It's the same thing. It's like everyone in England, including my mum, was going, "Oh, the Prince Andrew, it was such a train crash. It was such a disaster. Like, why did he do it? Why is he so stupid?" It's like Prince Andrew is not stupid. It, this is again all part. This was perfectly scripted to look like it's a train wreck. He's doing it with the BBC, who are in on it too. Like he must have rehearsed this over and over. It must have been scripted, just played out over and over. It's a ritual sacrifice. It's the scapegoat. It
yeah,
is a ritual sacrifice that you put all your sins onto one thing and sacrifice it for the
yeah,
greater good of people. It's a showpiece.
yeah. Harvey Weinstein, as he was for
And I think
the
the
whole
Queen
Me Too
wants
thing.
to, I think the royal family wants to cut down the royal family quite a bit anyway. It's not like they don't want to do that anyway. So everyone's going, but it's a train crash. They really caught Prince Andrew out. It's like, this is all still, he's not in jail, is he? Like, why is he doing it why is he doing an interview with the BBC and not the police, not the FBI? Like, this
Right?
is all a script.
Yeah.
Why? And the other thing
Um,
is, my mum got this straight away. Anyone else, any other woman getting a sex, I said, Mum, if there's a sexual predator, how can a woman possibly interview him? How can that possibly? And yes, it's Ronda Rousey.
yeah.
A woman cannot debate a man. They can't because there's always the threat of violence. Even if you know it's not going
Yeah.
to happen, it's like unconscious.
Well,
You
it's
just can't
interesting.
stand up to him.
Last night
If
on
you
the
stuck a guy in there that was a bit tougher, it would have been a completely different interview.
Last night on the same Gavin McGinnis episode I referenced earlier, there's a scene where he's watching a video of a female
You've got a
cop
woman,
with a
this like
guy.
posh, this delicate, posh, elderly woman
Yeah.
interviewing Prince Andrew.
I watched a video last
What?
night of a female cop getting
What?
manhandled, gun in hand, by some guy who's like a foot and a half taller than her, just shoving her around. She
Oh, and she
starts
shoots the
freaking out
mum.
and panicking. Huh?
Once she shoots the mum.
Yeah, that one. Yup.
Seen that, yeah.
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 But as far as failed narratives and scripts, we did start off 2019 with the Juicy Smollett MAGA African MAGA hanging hoax. And some of that even you really start to question where this guy's faced no consequences. He's now suing Chicago for his money back. And you really wonder if this whole thing, the fakeness of
Scripted
it
to get
all and
other people
everything,
to do it. Yeah, because the people you want to trigger to do it, it will give them that little motivation, that sort
yeah.
of dang
And it's
carrot to go ahead, you'll be fine.
and
It
it's
gives a
like,
reassurance, isn't it? It's reassurance to people that might do it.
yeah. Yeah, you really wonder like how was this thing scripted by him or was he scripted
Well,
into
he is an actor,
something where
guys.
yeah,
He's an actor.
where this
Played
whole
an
thing was
actor.
supposed to backfire on him and then it just ends up being nothing because Hollywood obviously isn't going to penalize him for it. Chicago's looks like it's about to drop everything. Like nothing came of it besides mobilizing and radicalizing and putting out narratives and everything like that, and it's like you really start to wonder at some point like was what it is
And
what
also
it was
the way
supposed
you
to
can
be.
flip the coin both ways and go, see, we do report on fake hoax, hate crimes. We do report. We report on Jesse Smollett. So when you get like 100 of them, they can dismiss and go, oh, of course we report
Yeah.
on we report on Jesse. So when there's a fake Jew beating or something, or a fake, they wrote nigger
Speaking of
online.
which, there's been a handful in New York recently, and they keep saying it's white supremacy, and
Yeah,
it's
and it's black
Hebrew
people.
Israelites. Yeah,
Well, it might not be happening. I don't know if I trust all those guys, man.
yeah. You never know.
You just don't know.
In 2019, we also had the rise, even though I feel like it started way earlier, the rise and predominance of drag queen story time. Now, I was going to reference this earlier. I saw a Sargon video where he covers this article, and it's so interesting, where it's basically now these crazy gender ideologues saying that pronouns are oppressive. So now these people have
Yeah.
been demanding you learn their pronouns and know if they're pronouns, if they're she or him or them or z or zer or whatever. And now they finally decide to say, because, and it basically inadvertently proves this whole underlying notion that all of us have had, that this, in this world of meaninglessness and everything like that, that these people are choosing gender ideology and gender identity in place of a personality. That's why you have masculine girls that would be tomboys.
I guarantee, I'm not going to do it, but I guarantee you, if I trace it all the way back to when it started, you'll find think tanks like Tavistock, the usual suspects, actually doing transgenderism as a way for depopulation.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. But so you basically have like tomboy girls now saying they're boys because of this gender ideology nonsense. But Sargon had this article where now they're saying pronouns are oppressive because it can't fully encapsulate who you are as a person, or it doesn't fully show your full gender expression and all of that. And Sargon's just said, isn't this funny how this comes full circle to basically now a individualistic point of view, where it's basically saying, you can't just, lump someone up into one of these made up genders and think that that's an accurate representation of them as a person. Like, they are the ones that have been confining themselves into these boxes of, I'm non-binary, gender queer, trans, asexual, whatever. And it's like, no, you're not. You're Jonathan. Like, you are Sarah. You are a person. You're not some rigid little box that you've tried to create. Instead of being yourself, you are yourself. So it's now come full circle. How quickly will it die out? That I don't think it will, because this is just
coming over to the UK though. Like, we've just catching up with that. Like,
yeah.
Drag queens are just emerging everywhere. It's only me noticing it, but it's like drag queens are getting a lot in England too. It's like,
I'm not surprised, because the thing I was going to say is, this is one voice into the void. I don't either. I've never.
Like, it's really popular now. It's like every club has it. Every theatre's got some drag queen.
It's so repulsive.
The comedy club is just all drag queen now.
There's something about it that's always been repulsive to me. Like, I
it's
just
not
can't.
Even funny.
Yeah, it's not. It's well, and here's the thing that about it that sort of, like, I've always looked at it as, if we're to really accept this whole transgender premise that there are men born with a woman's brain trapped in their body, or a female soul, or anything like that, doesn't the
I
whole
thought we had to respect women. If you dress like a drag queen, surely you're disrespecting women.
Exactly.
What's
Well, and that's the whole thing is it's sort of
women are clown demons, are they?
Well, and that's the thing
some
is,
of them are.
I think it's sort of like you're saying, it mocks the opposite gender that you're trying to portray yourself as. I think it mocks this whole trans notion and everything else, and it basically sort of delegitimizes it, where it's like, what's the difference between one of these drag queens and someone who actually says they're a woman when they were born a guy? If one isn't being super theatrical with it and is just dressing as a woman, what's the difference between the two besides what you're calling it? Like, yeah, I don't know, it's a whole hot mess, and I wish it's, as far as it being a trend, I wish it would just die out quickly.
The big thing was that Greta and Extinction Rebellion was fucking insane, and it is a death cult.
Yeah.
And we got that before anyone else, man.
Yeah.
When I'm doing that funeral, and they said, "Don't interrupt our funeral," it's like, I found a cult. It's like straight away. And it's like a proper paganist, anti-human cult. They even say themselves in their own manifesto that it's based on faith and a belief. It's not based in science. They even say that in a manifesto.
Well,
it should be considered religious climate.
Did you see the Piers Morgan interview with the broccoli or whatever?
They're not protesting, they're doing rituals. And now, like, all the protesters, 1,000 of them got arrested. They all got let off. all of them in the UK, because they caused havoc in England.
I-
And then the Queen mentioned in the Queen's speech saying how honourable it was to do. And it's like, what about if we did that for Brexit? We'd all get arrested and criminally charged.
yeah.
Like, what?
Well, that's because
What?
it's part of the agenda. Now, speaking in regards to climate change, segue into Greta Thunberg. Let me tell you, hopefully by the next podcast, I have another audio input. I want to have a soundboard in my iPad with a little voice of her going, "How dare you?
How
How
dare
dare
you?
you?" It's just so whenever you say something crazy, I can just hit it and have her voice go, "How dare you?" Um, that little angry one rose to predominance this
Everyone's
year.
buying climate change. Everybody. This is gonna. I think that's gonna be our downfall. I hate to be like, fucking Debbie Downer, but the 2030 breakdown into the new world order is gonna be sustainability and
Yeah,
ecology.
Agenda
Because
2030, 21, you know.
it looks like I was wrong on Brexit. I mean, it's 2020. When do we vote on it? I can't even remember when we voted on it. So I'm still pretty skeptical. Everyone now is saying it's going to happen. It's like that means they're ready to push forward the next big thing, which is because there's got to be something to replace it. It's going to be carbon tax. It's going to be.
Yeah.
They even talk about at work how we got to do. Like I do a 4-day week because of carbon.
Wow,
A week. Yep.
that's crazy.
Less means more people can share desks and have opportunity for work, and they want to reduce that further.
I mean, the
And
crazy thing
England
about
wants to
that
get their
is,
England are saying they want to get their carbon tax footprint to zero.
now
To,
think about,
to zero.
we want to talk about mental,
To zero.
yeah, that's insane. But like the thing that's crazy about all of this is like that's really a good measure of how successful the mind
The
control
brainwashing,
is. Yeah, because it's like humans should innately act in a self-preservational manner. And to some extent, our self-preservation is tied to the economy, it's tied to how much money we're bringing in and stuff like that. The fact that you could have corporations being like, oh, we should do a shorter work week. I mean, there are countries that already do that, where they only work until 7 or something like that. And it's like their economies are setting themselves at a disadvantage by saying you have to be structured this way, you have to work less and everything else. So they have less of an output than other countries. And I mean, it's so baffling because it's so counterintuitive to be like, we should limit ourselves because of the CO2. Like, this thing that it's like the science is so flimsy, and it's like there's obviously a division over it, but it's like it's
People
just,
don't even believe that, especially in England. Like you don't meet any like climate skeptics at all. The only ones I've met are just my parents, which is kind of strange because we don't agree on most things. That's probably one of the things we do agree on. It's like climate is. When I tell them everything's like a hoax and
you
climate change is the one they're like, yeah,
you
okay.
wonder to some extent, could this faith in climate change and
That's why I can't get with my parents. Sorry to interrupt. It's like when I tell them everything's a hoax, they'll say, "Well, climate change, I'm definitely with you." It's like, think how global that is, Dad.
yeah,
How big? It's just rammed down your face. Every single newspaper, every single film, every single celebrity, every single politician, France, England, Germany, all of it. Carbon, 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 carbon.
yeah,
It's a giant hoax. So how come everything else, if they can do it on that scale, how come you don't believe in the lesser things I tell you are a hoax?
yeah. Well, yeah, and it's sort of like
How
the
could they stage a moon landing hoax? It's
it's
like
like the
climate
Goebbels
change.
Hitler thing of like the big lie. The bigger and more outlandish the lie, the more it will be believed. And this climate change is definitely like the biggest you could imagine. Um, and
Same with vaccines, like mandatory vaccines is a thing in England now, and everyone embraces it. Like, I don't meet many people that are like, I really don't want a vaccination. I don't want to be vaccinating kids. And they're like, don't you believe in science, Paul? It's like, it's what they're putting in it. It's the drug companies, the pharmaceuticals, all the scandals. It's the scallywags behind it, the agenda.
Well, the
I would
people who
love to
say
take a
believe the
vaccine as
science,
me.
all they have are talking points. They never even have any of the science. They just have this sort of appeal to authority where it's like, well,
I
the
imagine there are good vaccines that are available if they want you to have the good ones, and there's
yeah,
bad ones which are for the public, and they're like, "How dare you, Paul?" And it's like, if we like, do people just forget stuff? I think that's it. Like Owen Benjamin says, people just forget, and you remind them about medical scandals just over and over, and they're like, "Oh, I forgot about, that, I forgot about, that, I forgot about."
yeah.
That. Vaccines are okay. It's like your memory is literally 2 seconds at this point because we've just
Yeah.
gone through this long list, and then you're back to.
Well, and it's like I would guarantee you there's vaccines for things we don't even know about. Like the rich and powerful probably have a cancer vaccine or something, you know,
Well,
so that
don't politicians get different vaccinations to the public? Haven't we seen those
probably,
things?
I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Um yeah. Let's see
If I
her.
have kids in England, they will have to be vaccinated. Like, there's no option.
So our three other images I have on this picture are Boris, which I guess we kind of glanced over with the Brexit,
No, I
you
don't
know.
think we have.
Okay.
Because that's all England's. We'll do it quick because that's all England's been all 2019. It's been the year of Brexit. With all the swapping of all the MPs, all the blah, 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 all the nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. Didn't get out. We're still not out. And now we've got Boris the clown in.
Yeah.
And again, it's a coalition. Whether you like the Labour Party is like your Democrats, and their whole strategy for this election was just to call everyone racist. They didn't understand Brexit. They're racist. They're too stupid to understand Brexit. That's half of the Democrats' voting bloc. Like half of them did vote Brexit. So when you're calling half your voting group stupid, retarded, racist, we got Boris the clown. It's not a good thing. Like everyone's celebrating, go Boris in England. Go, isn't it great? We stuck our finger up to him. It's like it's not great at all. Boris the clown is not great whatsoever. I can't think of anything good about Boris. He'll get us out. He'll get us a deal. It's like, no, he won't, guys.
Well,
And the thing is, I thought like Farage. Everyone's like, oh, Farage couldn't have done it. It's like, guys, this is all about Farage.
the thing that bothers me though about it,
I
and,
get people don't like Farage, but
and I could
he
be
could.
wrong, but I think you sort of just made this point in a way is
And it's a before I finish, it's a coalition again because Farage had to back down to Boris, didn't he? So
yeah,
it is kind of a coalition. You're buying the opposition. So that means Boris Johnson's the nearest thing we've had to someone who's elected. I keep doing this. Theresa May weren't elected. Gordon Brown weren't elected. Cameron didn't get elected. Did I say Gordon Brown? We've had like 5 prime ministers in a row.
yeah. See, the thing I don't like about it, and the left is to blame
But
for this.
that's don't get good news for you is you'll see what happened to us. Now we've got no Democrat party as it were. They're just lost.
Yeah,
And like Alex Jones was going to strike back. Like don't keep your guard down, England. Like they're going to strike back hard. They're not going to let this one slip.
yeah.
But we haven't seen any strike back or any plan or any new leadership or any new. So
Well, the thing that bothers me about it all is it turns politics, which should be about policy, into a more about conduct and how, you know, someone acts and behaves. And, you know, it's because they play this game of you're racist, you're sexist, you're xenophobic, you're, you know, whatever, whatever. And it's like that has nothing to do with policy. That has to do with behavior and thoughts. And it's like, you know, that's their whole thing against Trump is, you know, they don't have a policy of Trump's that they are attacking. Even when they did have, you know, policy issues, they would say, you know, it's because it affects trans military ban, or, you know, because it affects Mexicans, or what. It always got rooted into that identity thing and it being viewed as a act against an identity. But it's never about policy. Like they don't like the way he conducts himself, and it's like it boomerangs where it's like the people, and this is what I've heard about the sort of Boris vote, where it's like the people got so sick of how Labor was acting because their whole act is accusing others of behaving badly. or having bad thoughts, and again, no policy, anything is put forward. So people get so sick of them acting like that, they say, all right, well, here's a fuck you vote to the other guy, and I'm going to give him an excuse on whatever bad behavior he may have, because at least he's talking policy. Like, you're not even in that
The
ballpark.
thing is, I just think explain to people like it's still a script. Like we're 4 years in now. Most people don't give a fuck about it anymore. You're like sick to fucking death of it. So it will part. As far as the script's concerned, we're leaving Brexit. I'll admit that. As far as the script and the newspapers and the press, Brexit happened. Brexit happened. It happened in name, but I think we're
Well,
still going to be in European
what's
Union before we're
troublesome
not the
about
rest of
it.
the world.
You know what's troublesome about it
Because
is,
everyone's just given up. As soon as they say, "Oh, Brexit's happened with this deal," the deal's going to be so we're still in the EU. But then the other thing we had, which you're like, is the only thing we've heard is Trump will get his hands on the NHS. He'll buy our national
yeah,
health service.
and no one
Like,
knows where
who's
that
going to
came
buy that
from.
fucking train wreck?
But
The
the
NHS
thing
is a
the
fucking.
thing that I
Who's
don't
going to
like
buy
about
it?
it,
No one. You never. What?
you
It's
have
not a national health service. It's an international health service, and that's what people won't admit.
the thing that's troublesome about all of this though is, you have this identity
How
politics
dare you
game.
say the NHS is bad? It's like it's fucking terrible, guys. It's gonna collapse. Just let it collapse. Oh, don't you care about sick people, Paul? Look, you wanted an international health service. You've got an international health service. They all collapse, and everyone around the world can use it. It's obviously not going to work. So you either have a border or you have national health service.
Yeah.
We don't have a border. You don't want a border. So bye bye health service. And they're like, you don't like immigrants. It's like, I'm just doing the numbers.
Yeah. Well, and
Free healthcare to anyone that comes in. Just ask anyone in the hospital why NHS started collapsing beyond belief when we had open borders. Like there is correlation isn't always correlation isn't always causation, but in this case it is.
yeah. Well, and the thing I don't like about it, and it happens a lot with political arguments where, you have the left predominantly plays the identity politics game, and even if it's not something that fits into their narrative identity politics, they will find a way and they will create identities out of it. Brexit is a great example where you have Remainers. That's an identity group. Remainers and the people who want Brexit, and they've, in America, it's like abortion. You're pro-choice or you're pro-life. They both have their branding, and then you base the assumptions off of that branding.
Pro-choice is
Um,
nearly illegal over here, man.
that's crazy.
Yeah. Like you don't want to be saying abortion's bad in England. Like you'd be in trouble. You might, yeah, you'd get in trouble for that. No one would ever say abortion's bad in England. No one. I've never heard that.
Well, mainly in America,
I've never even heard an argument against abortion until I started listening to like American podcasts.
yeah, and the thing is,
Never even
at
heard
this
of it.
point, is like you very well could make scientific arguments based on the positions the left used to have. Like they used to justify it based on viability. Well, now science has advanced where viability is at like just a couple months, so it's like we should be scaling it back to that based on what they used to say. Well, now it's no longer about, safe, legal, and rare. Now it's about access. It's about just women having access when they want it, how they want it, whatever, whatever. But I don't want to get too caught up on that. The other two images I have in the graphic are the Joker, which, I whatever, but culturally, it was sort of a zeitgeist for a couple months where you had the media thinking it would radicalize incels, and then you had, the sort of anti-SJW crowd hop behind it 110%, to a point of irrationality and just overblowing it, which I think, again, ties into this we don't like your behavior, so whatever you don't like, I will like. Enemy of my enemy is my friend mentality, which I think is a very dangerous trapping to fall into. Um, and then the only other thumbnail was Nick Fuentes, which, the whole Groyper War thing, the Sort of.
We haven't had that here. Like, he's a legend in England with the Brexit lot.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I think it just sort of
People
showed.
I like a lot. Really like promote him hard.
Yeah, well, I think, see, the thing I like
I
about
don't
him
really
is,
listen to anything. I'll be honest, I don't know anything about him. I've not given him any of my attention. I just hear Owen just spiraling about him hard. That's the only impression I've got of Nick Fuentes is purely from how popular it is in Brexit, just insane, and then Owen just ripping into him.
well, and you know what the thing is though is it's funny because whenever Nick Fuentes retorts Owen, the manner in which he does it, like, he'll say things like Owen is unhinged, and in
I think Owen was man of 2019.
but the thing is in comparison, if you were to put side by side footage of Owen Benjamin, and he is a comedian, so he will be over the top and sort of performative, but if you were to put his remarks about Nick Fuentes compared to Nick Fuentes' remarks about Owen, and Nick says Owen's unhinged, he's going off, I didn't do anything to trigger this level of, whatever. Like, you sort of look at it and you're like, eh. Like, I mean, and there's a lot of, like, insinuations that I
That's a
think are.
good point. Regardless of what you think of Owen, like I love the guy. I think he is man of 2009 because I do love him. But even if you hated him, how could you not give him man of 2099, 2019? Like, kind of weird to me because he was banned from PayPal, banned from Instagram, banned from Facebook. You would have thought everyone on YouTube would be like, oh, win, oh, win,
Yeah.
oh, win, oh, win. But I think he's hit a lot of balls at the park this year. He's caused a lot of stirring. I think he's
Well, see, and
hit it
but
hard.
that's why
It
people.
seems like Trump might actually be quoting Owen Benjamin. I don't know if you've noticed that. That is actually a thing. And the Fanica seems to say crushing a lot and all this kind of stuff.
Well, see, you know what the thing is I think the reason why people don't rally behind him is because there isn't anyone that sort of stepped in and tried to help him, that there hasn't been this sort of, disavowal on the one side. Even Vox
I
Day
think
has
it
had
was
to
the flat Earth
disavow
that
him.
really did it.
And
I
then,
think flat Earth, which is too. I don't think it is his part. I think it is probably flat Earth.
well, no, I think part of it, and Owen has recognized this. Like, he states this, especially when he talked about his whole Crowder dynamic, is like, when Owen isn't a beta necessarily, but he knows when to fall in line. Like, he knows how to let someone else take the lead and stuff like that, and he enjoys being supportive. He's, again, this is what he's laid out with his whole falling out with Crowder. But then when someone isn't in lockstep with something that Owen feels very strongly about, he takes it very personal. And then there starts to be a blurring of when he's saying things and it's sort of a comedic ribbing, or when he's trying to sort of be like malicious with what he's saying. Because sometimes he just takes things way too far. Like, some of it's funny, like him insinuating Crowder's gay, because again, there's a lot that he can put forward that you sort of would raise an eyebrow to.
It is kind of strange because he has been on Joe Rogan, he has been on Alex Jones, he is on Fox Day, he's been on everything, and yet now it's not on any. It's not just, it's both sides.
But
So
listen to what he's said about Alex Jones, about Joe Rogan, about, everyone but Vox Day. Like, that's the thing. These people may have disagreements with Owen, but Owen burns the bridge down completely. Like, and
yeah,
that's sort of the thing I'm saying, where it's like, I think that's why people don't rally behind him, is they're like, well, it's not safe to get in league with him, because if there is any sort of falling out, it's going to go nuclear on his side. And I mean, that's even the whole thing about
nuclear, Jamie, nuclear bombs are not real.
and that's what I'm saying. That's what Nick Fuentes pointed out when he said Owen's unhinged, because the whole thing started over Owen originally supporting Nick, and then someone asked Nick in a live chat, will you do another stream with Owen? And he just said, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll do another one with him. We'll have Vincent set it up or something. Like, because Vincent set up the first one. Owen took that as him being dismissive and, casting him aside and went nuclear over it. And that's why Nick can say he's unhinged. I didn't do anything to warrant this level of response, this and that. And then even some of his points where he's like, he goes on this whole sucking on his mom's tits thing, and he lives at home and this and that. And Nick says flat out, I'm 20 years old. Why should I start handing over all my money to a landlord? Shouldn't I save it so I can go and buy a piece of property and do what Owen's doing? Like, he's not. He's not.
That's right, shouldn't he? If he's going to be this leader of men, then kind of.
But he's not a man yet. He's not even old enough to drink. Like, and that's, see, and
Yeah,
that's.
well, yeah, I guess the people need to take responsibility for putting him on a pedestal, I guess.
Yeah, and that's, see, and that's one of the things I'm thinking of, where it's like.
He's like the Greta of fucking right wing, isn't
he? Basically. I mean, he's old enough to vote, but not old enough to drink. And now here's the other thing, where it's like, what Owen says is true in one hand. The things he wants to encourage men to do are true in one hand, but it very much makes, as much as Owen wants to rip on boomers all the time, it makes Owen sound like a boomer when he says young men should just go out into the world and get married and this and that, because they don't have the skills or what it takes to be a good providing husband yet. Like, you are, like, by just telling these men to just go out here and do this stuff that they don't have the skill set in order to do. Most of them come from divorced parents. They don't know what a functional relationship is supposed to be. They have very little interactions with women. Like, they need to, like, they're not going to be able to pull this off at 20. Like, and I'm not giving an excuse. I'm just saying that's the reality of this is sexual market value. This is Stefan Molyneux's whole spiel, and you need to interject that into the advice Owen gives in order for it to work out. Men aren't valuable at 20. Men are valuable at maybe 26, 28, and then they can pick up a 21-year-old chick.
Then again, I'll play on Owen's side, like, Alex did burn Owen first.
Yeah.
I get that. And then Tommy Robinson probably had a big effect. Like, Tommy Robinson wasn't that helpful towards Owen. Who else? I think he is right about Crowder. Like, I'm not into Crowder at all. Like, I just can't watch since Gay Gerard left.
Yeah.
I've not been able to get into Crowder whatsoever.
Well, and even the Sven computer thing, because, that sort of also shined a light on the Jared thing, because it's like you realize there's some dynamic going on backstage that isn't healthy, and you don't know what it is, but it's like you'd rather just not feed into it.
Joe Rogan, he was right about. I was Joe Rogan's biggest fan, as you know. Now I can't really stand Joe Rogan. And I do think he is probably butt pumping people behind skips, just rollerblading. I can see it now. I think he was right about Rogan. Who else has he actually been right about? I'm trying to think. Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. Kind of after the fact, but no, and that's the thing. I'm not even saying Owen's wrong in his targets and what he says and what he does. I'm just saying because of it, it's why people would be hesitant. And again, it could very well just be, the high IQ thing, and Owen could be made to be a loner, and that's all it could. It could very well be that just 90% of people out there, regardless.
Was it melted candle face?
But I really think that's I think Vox Day is a loner too, and I think that's why they get along.
That's been my highlight. Owen Benjamin podcast. I've loved all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, he is great. But I just, like I said, as far as his advice to young men, I think there's an impracticality to it, because I think there's a couple steps that need to happen first for a lot of these guys. But I think as far as if that advice being aimed at men 25 and older,
on a pedestal in the first place, there must be better candidates.
Yeah.
Nick, and why call it what they called the gropers or whatever? It's just such
groper. Yeah, I don't. I mean, some of it I don't get, and again, it's part of it's because of the age thing. Yeah, it's because of the age thing. Like there is, I'll be the first to admit I'm out of touch with some of it. I don't. I don't get it. I'm not a nihilist, and I think there is a sort of nihilist underpinning to a lot of that whole Zoomer type stuff.
It's a meme of a name as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I mean,
You never know.
I do.
Looking at Boris and Trump, if Boris has got any sense, he might just be Trump's little puppy dog.
Yeah.
That might be fun. Because Trump's going to dominate Boris at least. It might be a good little role for Boris the clown. What do you think of Trump then? Is he real or is it all just part of the script? I still can't figure it out, if I'm honest.
I don't know either. You know, I was watching a No More News stream the other day, and they brought up this real interesting point.
I like him and I'm aware of why I'm liking him and how I could be being just played.
And he brought up this point, though, about how the left is super obsessed with everything Russia, and how the right wing is super obsessed and defensive of everything Israel, when really Russia and Israel are sort of working together in a lot of ways. And it's sort of, as long as each side is only paying attention to one side and dismissing the other, they don't see the full picture. And it sort of is that false choice, duality, dichotomy type thing.
It's not a false, yeah, it's not a false choice. It's a selection now, like you had in England. Like there isn't a left. You're gonna have to say in this election for you guys, there's just not gonna be a left. It's just gonna be Trump. And is
Yeah.
Trump even gonna get to debate? What's the point?
Well, and
He's
I
not.
heard that's the whole thing where he's saying he isn't going to do it at this point. He's saying he
Yeah,
might just rally instead because what's the point?
he's not gonna need to raise any money and do his campaigning. He's just gonna do a couple of sold out venues for free or whatever.
Well, and it makes you wonder with this whole impeachment thing where it's like they just had this whole charade and now they're not passing it off to the Senate. Like it really showed that they had no intentions of following it through despite their rhetoric talking about it being like the biggest threat the world could ever face. And then it's like, okay, we'll pass it off to Congress or the Senate, and they're like, we need more evidence, we need this and that. And it's like, you indicted someone and need more evidence? What is going on here?
No, that's right. Because yeah,
And
that is the inevitable end. Yeah,
and
thanks God.
it's going to create the same sort of Boris effect where it's like you now have people that are Democrats that have been watching the way their party has handled Trump, and they're so sick of how their party has been acting and ignoring actual problems and not doing what they could be doing, and even not even challenging Trump enough, this whole half challenging him, and they're just going to vote for someone else. They're just going to say anyone but you. Like you're going to have people say when Trump first got in, Republicans controlled the House and the Senate and they didn't get enough done. I think these next 4 years, you're going to see Trump on fire because the Republicans are going to have the House and Senate again. Um, and I don't know, hopefully it's for the best, but, to some extent, everything does feel like a production. Tucker Carlson does these really good segments where he talks about all the fake news the news is covering, and not fake in the way that it's not real, but in the way that it doesn't actually affect anyone. And then he's like, and here's what they aren't talking about. Middle America collapsing, opioid problems, like the problems that do affect people. So, I don't know. I'd like to see...
Wait, nothing's going to happen this year, though, is it? You've got, what, 300 odd days until...
Yeah, the election.
A lot of people saying October will be big this year, but October's always big.
See, but
that.
I don't know. Like, normally presidents do play it safe during this time period. I think, Trump's a different kind of beast in this situation. I think he might do some ballsy maneuvers and
Like what?
I don't know, like I think he's definitely going to push border construction as far as he can go, because that's one of the big criticisms.
That's fallen off the radar quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things this whole impeachment thing sort of overshadowed is they did the well, they last year during this time the government was shut down because they couldn't come to an agreement.
Well, hang on. if they don't get the impeachment, Trump's going to go for the people that signed it, isn't he? Isn't that going to give him like full range on Nancy Pelosi just to go get her out?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. They'll control the House and the Senate again because now he gets to make that proposition to the Democrats
Everyone
saying,
that was put impeachment's going to be like gone, aren't they?
yeah, he's going to say, look at these people. They spent all this time trying to get me. They didn't even finish what they started, and look at their home districts. Nancy Pelosi is in charge of, the district with the largest homeless problem in the country. Adam Schiff, again, California, with all these issues, and all he has to say is, why aren't these people dealing with their problems at home? That was one of the things, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she isn't even real big into this impeachment thing, but remember, you have a Republican candidate in her area countering her now, and it's a black Jamaican woman, and her whole proposition is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez got elected to represent this district. She has done nothing for this district, and her whole focus is on Washington, D.C. She's
Yeah, well,
not...
that's my prediction for the next 5 years. It's going to all be natural. I put that in inverted commas. Natural disasters. We're going to see loads of them, like rainforest fires. We're going to see so much of it because that's the only way they can
keep
get
the climate hype going, yeah.
The only way you can have a new world order now is going to be through climate, I think.
I agree
Scaring
with that.
people that we're all going to be gone, and I can see the Vatican getting behind that. I can see England loves that. I can see America getting behind that.
You're right, because the initial attempt was through currency
You need some
and...
like offense, even if they're faked and just CGI and it's got.
Or even if it's just regular shit. Like, I'll tell you what, anytime there's a snowstorm, I get 3 days worth of alerts on my phone leading up to it, and then it could just be flurries. I mean, they're trying to instill weather fear into people.
Everyone's going, December 10th YouTube purge, December 10th YouTube purge. It's like, kinda, it's going to be a whole information purge. Like, it's going to get to a stage with the deep fakes that people are going to just take complete control of what we see now. And deep fakes are so good, you're not going to know if it is actually a fake or whether it is real. You're just not going to know.
You know what I've been
Everything's going to be shut down. Like YouTube's gone. Like it's nearly unusable now.
You know what I know it really is. That's why I use this program Restream where it sends stuff to everyone. Like, it's so crazy. I was reading a forum the other day where they were talking about some kid who was in a stream with Nick Fuentes, and I looked him up. He's been banned off DLive, banned off YouTube, and on this forum they were talking about how people have gone to Chatterbait, and even Pornhub offered to host Sargon. And this is the interesting part of to tie it all back to the initial thing with the porn ban. The pornography sites are now offering themselves as safe havens to these sort of free speech dissidents, where it's like, on the one hand you want to ban it, but on the other hand you're looking at them saying, well, they're the only ones offering me a platform to do and say whatever I want because they're offering a platform.
Because porn's so addictive, they need so much fucking space and surface that they just got it on a bucket load.
Yeah, but it's like they're the only ones offering the safe haven to people where it's like they can do and say whatever because it's like, if they're okay with a guy shitting in a girl's mouth, well, they're going to be okay with me saying genders aren't real. Like, I mean, it's crazy that you have to have those two things like under the same protective roof, but that's the world that, these corporations are trying to force us into, where those things are in the same ballpark and not accepted in common ground. But I mean, pretty soon in common ground it'll be okay to shit in someone's mouth, but it won't be okay to say men and women aren't the same. It's really a clown world that it's fucking getting to that.
So when we look at our headline, like our tagline for the video, the best of 2019, I guess other than personal lives, we just look at the geopolitics. Wasn't a great year, was it, 2019?
No, I don't think really much got accomplished either which way.
Everything spiraled.
Yeah. Um,
I guess more people are aware. Like fake news with the Epstein was great. The people just don't believe
See,
anything
but
anymore.
here's the thing is
That's sort of getting us ready with we need information control because it's obvious no matter where you go, nobody knows what's real anymore.
yeah.
Need one answer, but one question.
Well, and
Not all these
but you know what the thing
answers that we don't know what
is
to
let
find.
me ask you.
I
See,
don't like thinking. It's like that Aaron Dykes video goes, I don't like the fact I have to think. I just want to type in a question and get one answer. The
yeah.
idea I have to go through many answers and figure out which one is the right one is a massive waste of time.
Well,
I'm an intellectual. I don't have time to think.
the thing is though, now what would your preference be?
Agreed
Because
upon information. That's what
like
it will be.
I like that Trump warns England, not to relax and sit back and all that. And same thing Alex Jones said after Trump got elected, where he said now the fight really begins. But I feel like after he did get elected, you had a lot of these sort of conservative ink type people, your Ben Shapiro's, your basically the people that were never Trumpers got behind Trump and started to coast. Like they just started, sailing along and all of that. And it's like I sort of like the tumultuous spiraling and upheaval of things where it's like because it's like it makes you feel like something is going to actually come out of it. And it's like I just hope that that's what's going on is that it's a transformational period and ends up being for the better rather than it just us just being in a constant state of upheaval, which we do know order out of chaos. There are some people that are perfectly happy with us staying in this constant state of spiraling.
Yeah, I think that's what my crystal ball tells me. I think they can have all this information control. Don't want to get into social credit scores, but be into that. But the whole point will be that once they control information enough, like it is in China, like just the one answers, then they can pull off a false flag. But this time it won't be terrorists. It will be a meteorite or it will be a flood that wiped out a country. But really, the country is fine.
Yeah. Well,
Literally going to be because yeah, you say oh, but Paul they couldn't fake that. It's like they faked a lot of big stuff already. It's only going to get bigger, and that's got to be the next big one. How do you fake a natural disaster?
and it's interesting. Back to the Styx Hexenhammer thing. Do you know his position on deplatforming?
It's okay with it because they're private companies, I reckon.
Because I just sort of wonder, you look at someone like
I can
Milo,
guess.
where it's like, a lot of Milo's stuff you can barely find him. Gavin McGinnis is the same way to some extent. He does like his free episode a week, but a lot of the stuff is hard to find, and he has to keep it behind paywalls because it gets banned off everywhere, so he has to pay to host it
Yeah, the
somewhere.
alternative media's gone. Like Alex Jones can't get out. Gavin McInnes. Yeah, it's like everyone relied on YouTube too much, and now there's no replacements. It's like you just got all these roads you've got to follow to find
Well, to
things,
some
not just
extent,
bother.
I look at the whole D
And with
Live
Owen, like,
and
yeah, you've got to be committed because Owen, you've got to watch it live or you miss it.
well, it's the ghettoization thing that Matt Drudge talked about. It's the putting people
Right,
in
yeah.
internet ghettos. That's
He
what
said
this
that
is.
exactly 5 years ago as
Yeah.
well.
And that's what it is with all these sort of alt tech sites, whether it be Telegram or Minds or D Live or BitChute or
Like a speakeasy
it's the
pub.
yeah, it's like the speakeasy internet ghettos and everything. And I know Styx is actually one of the top people on BitChute or something like that.
And we're going to be like looked at like druggies looking for our next fix. And you
Yeah,
fuck.
and it just
And be
sort of though it's like all right,
in
he's so
places where we have to go to places where they've got hardcore porn just to listen to Sargon.
yeah. But it just sort of makes you think like if Styx sees, the reason to be on BitChute and not to have all of his eggs in the YouTube basket, well then he obviously understands that there's a threat with deplatforming and stuff like that. So why does he not think we can deplatform a YouTuber but we can't rid the internet of easy access to pornography? Like it's almost like he just doesn't like the things are compartmentalized and he doesn't understand how to like there's no fluidity in his thinking. Like he very much is one of those like I just want the right answer, the simple answer, the banning things doesn't
We
work
don't do it
because
without
drugs.
internet ID though, Jamie. I mean, do you want internet ID? Do you want people to have biometrics on their face? Of course not. I mean, you're a Christian. I mean, you don't want imposing governments. Like, we're talking about internet security now, Sticks Hammer. We're not talking about porn. He just kept doing that over and over again. He would go on to another subject which you would need to enforce what you want. It's like, I'm not telling you how it should be enforced. I'm telling you
There's
it
a
should be
problem here.
banned. It should be
Yeah.
banned.
Well,
The
and that's the
debate is, if
thing
you want
is,
to have a debate on how are you going to ban it, what are the consequences, that's a completely different debate.
well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying though, is like it's very much compartmentalized in one answer for each question. So it's like he has to keep trying to shift the question into, well, how would you do it? Because I have the answers to rebut that. And it's like E. Michael Jones is like, I haven't even gotten that far. Like, it's, but that's, yeah, the whole thing where it's just one answer for, oh, ban things? Well, drugs didn't work with drugs. Oh, well, restrictions on the internet, but, well, biometrics, mark of the beast. There's my rebut for, it's like just having to keep trying to shift it in order for him to have his go-tos. Um, when,
Well, it must be hard to actually, I reckon it'd be quite easy to ban because even though we're flooded with porn online, think how much surfing power you need to host HD videos, the amount they're paying to host that. It must be coming from all the same, like pretty much just one or two places, and people are just copying it and copying it and copying it
yeah, well,
from that source.
here's the thing I think,
Just block the main sources and then
yeah,
people
yeah,
can
exactly. Why I don't see why they can't do it the same way they did with torrents, where your internet service provider is monitoring all this shit anyway. If you had an internet service provider that came out and said, we acknowledge that the public finds, access to porn as a
Because you don't have
problem,
to ban
this
it.
and that.
It's all about cost and benefit, isn't it? It's just the cost worth the benefit? And if you just keep making it more and more awkward, then eventually it'll just become more and more expensive to host porn. People are like, well, it's not really worth it.
That's exactly what I'm saying though. Is what if the internet service provider came out with a package, same way cable used to. Cable used to do this, where you could get basic cable, but then you could get the add-ons like HBO and Cinemax and Showtime and all of that. And Cinemax after midnight would show movies with nudity and stuff like that, but you had to pay extra. What if the ISPs, the internet service providers, came out and said, here's our $60 a month package where you can access all of these sites, all your normal internet, and for $100 a month, you can access X-rated stuff and things like that. And people would ask themselves, because this is a big part of the problem, is that all the porn is free now. Is that it's no longer behind a paywall. And that's, to E. Michael Jones' part, who's paying for all the service space? Who's funding this? Like, obviously it appears to be weaponized. Anything that's free, whether it's a vaccine or porn, tends to be weaponized. Nothing free is ever good for you. So you could just have an internet service provider say,
yeah, I just think doing the big ones would cause havoc. Just porn, just the big names. Just take those. I reckon then the cost benefit would just be swayed so much. Just watch it collapsing in on itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you could too. And I think if you had an internet service provider offer a porn-free package where they offer for you to choose for them to ban
and when
porn,
you're hosting, maybe you have to say you do porn, you do host porn, and when you do, you get a different rate to what everyone else gets. So it's not the customer paying the tax; it would be the company.
Yeah.
It out.
Yeah, I think there's a way to do it where people can opt into it, and I think a lot of people would. I think you would have even people that would choose that method to deal with their porn addiction.
You could justify that as a business because you could say because you're Pornhub, like you do use a fucking ton of traffic, like and you're gonna have to pay for it as well. And that's it's not just ban it; like it makes sense that they're gonna.
Yeah,
they don't have to pay for that.
But I think if you had a two-tier package system that the internet providers were offering, I think you would have people with porn addiction that would say, I want the package without the porn, and just sort of cut themselves off through that
Well,
manner.
no,
I mean,
it's just men
it's
become such cucks. They'll go, the government's taking my rights away to jerk off to porn.
I
It's like
know.
they need porn that badly that and then they go, it's not addictive. I just can't handle it. The government takes it away.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
right.
really bad. I think like I wouldn't be missing anything if they banned it.
Well, and
That's
it's
good.
like it's so
That's good.
crazy the idea that pornography gets conflated with free speech. Like, ass fucking someone is not freedom of
No.
expression. Like, sorry.
Is
So,
that where we end it? Ass fucking, it's not.
freedom of
Uh,
expression, yeah, sure.
it's not.
But yeah,
That is the workplace motto too.
right?
Yep.
Well, should we do it again on Sunday? Hope to find some news to cover between now and then.
I think we should come up with stuff to actually cover. I'll drop you a couple of emails during the week, so
Okay,
stuff.
sounds good to me.
Yeah, man.
All right, I'll catch you later.
Alright, see you later, man.
All right.
Bye.